Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something that feels totally counterintuitive.
Right. The idea that these massive life-changing achievements, they don't actually come from huge heroic action.
Exactly. They come from these tiny, almost microscopic, consistent things you do every day. We're doing a deep dive into the physics of small gains.
It's really the architecture of change. We're challenging that belief that, big changes need some massive effort.
Yeah.
Our sources show that the real engine is just consistency multiplied by time, and the results can be just spectacular.
And the best case study for this, the one that it sells the whole idea,
Yeah.
is what happened with British cycling.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, before 2003, they were a joke on the world stage, frankly.
110 years and not a single Tour de France win.
Oh, it's so bad. There's that story about a major European bike manufacturer.
He refused to sell them bikes.
Yeah. They were worried the association would actually hurt their own brand. That's an organization at rock bottom.
So in comes this guy, Dave Brailsford, as the new performance director. And he doesn't promise some miracle writer or a huge new budget.
No, he brings in a philosophy. He called it the aggregation of marginal gains.
Okay, so what does that actually mean?
I mean, the core idea was simple. If you broke down every single thing that goes into riding a bike, training, sleep, diet, the mechanics, and you improved each little bit by just 1%.
Just 1%.
The cumulative effect would be astronomical.
And he was just relentless with this. I mean, they started with the obvious stuff, right?
More later bikes, more ergonomic seats, biofeedback sensors, all that. But then they went way, way deeper.
Into the weeds.
Totally. They started looking at comfort, at recovery, testing different massage gels, hiring a surgeon to teach riders the best way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick.
They even brought in custom mattresses and pillows for every single rider.
Right, to maximize sleep quality, even on the road.
And the detail that always gets me.
The white truck.
Yeah, the white truck. They painted the inside of the team truck white.
So the mechanics could spot even the tiniest flecks of dust that might mess with the bike's mechanics.
They were hunting for 1% improvements in the dust.
It sounds absurd, doesn't it? But you just can't argue with the results.
No.
Within 5 years, at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, British cycling won 60% of the available gold medals.
60%.
And then, between 2012 and 2017, they won 5 Tour de France titles in 6 years.
So they went from a global punchline to basically the most dominant force in the history of the sport, all built on these tiny atomic habits.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to really unpack that. If you want to replicate this in your own life, your career, your fitness, whatever, you have to understand the math and the psychology behind it.
Let's start with the math, because this is where it really clicks.
Right.
If you can get just 1% better every single day for a year.
Okay, 1% sounds small.
It sounds tiny, but at the end of that year, you are not 30–40% better. You're 37 times better.
37 times. That's the power of compounding right there, applied to your own behavior.
It is. But look at the flip side of that. If you get 1% worse every day, you decline. Well, you decline pretty much down to 0.
Wow.
You don't just slip a little, you spiral. So habits really are the compound interest of self-improvement.
That 37 times number is so motivating. But if the math is that clear, why is it so hard? Why do we all start things and then, fail 3 weeks later?
Because we hit what our sources call the plateau of latent potential.
The valley of disappointment.
That's it. We expect progress to be linear. I put in 10% effort, I should get 10% results back.
But it just doesn't work that way.
No, improvement is almost always delayed.
The ice cube analogy for this is perfect.
It is. So you've got an ice cube in a room, you start heating the room, 25 degrees, 28, 30, 31.
And nothing's happening. The ice is still ice. You're putting in all this energy, but you see zero visible change.
But that work wasn't wasted. It was being stored. And then, at 32 degrees, that 1 extra degree, it melts.
Right. And people quit at 31 degrees because they think the work isn't paying off. They're still in that valley.
You have to trust the process, even when you can't see the outcome. And that leads right into the next big idea.
Which is focusing on the process, not the outcome.
Exactly. We are so conditioned to focus on goals. But we need to be clear here. A goal is the result you want, right? I want to lose 20 pounds.
Okay.
A system is the collection of daily processes that gets you there. Your meal prep routine, when you go to the gym, that sort of thing.
So the argument is, and this is the part that feels a bit strange, is that we should basically forget the goals.
Yeah. Focus entirely on the system.
But wait, how does that work? If I don't have a goal, aren't I just sort of wandering aimlessly?
It's a great question. And the answer is in the flaws of goal setting. First, winners and losers have the same goals.
Right. Every athlete at the Olympics wants the gold medal. The goal doesn't separate them.
The system does. Second, achieving a goal is just a momentary change. You clean your messy room, it's clean for a day.
But if you don't change the messy system that created it...
You're right back where you started. You're treating the symptom, not the cause.
And what's the third flaw?
It's how goals restrict happiness. We create this if-then trap. I'll be happy once I get the promotion.
Oh, once I lose the weight.
Right. A systems approach lets you feel satisfied every time you execute your system correctly. The joy is in the process.
So the big takeaway here is...
You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Real long-term thinking is goalless thinking. It's about continuous refinement.
But for that refinement, you need some kind of compass,
Yeah.
right? You need to know who you're trying to become.
Yes, and that's where identity-based habits come in. You can think of change in 3 layers.
Okay.
On the surface, you have outcomes, what you get, then process, what you do, and at the very core, you have identity, what you believe about yourself.
And most of us start from the outside in. I want to lose weight, so I'll go to the gym.
But if your identity, your deep belief is, I'm not a healthy person, then going to the gym is always going to feel fake. It's not aligned with who you think you are.
So you have to start with the identity.
You have to. Think about quitting smoking. The person who says, no thanks, I'm trying to quit, well, they still see themselves as a smoker.
Right, a smoker who's just restricting themselves.
But the person who says, no thanks, I'm not a smoker, well, that's an identity statement.
Right.
The behavior just flows from that belief.
I love that idea that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become.
It's so powerful. If you keep casting votes for comfort over hard work, you become a person who prioritizes comfort. It's that simple.
So the goal isn't just to run a marathon. It's to become a runner.
Exactly. The focus is on being, and the habits are just the proof.
And this connects directly to our brains, to neurology, right? Because habits are just feedback loops.
They are. Your brain is constantly running these loops to try and automate solutions to save energy. There was that famous experiment by Edward Thorndike.
With the cats in the puzzle box back in 1898.
Right, and he saw the cats got faster and faster at escaping. That repetition creates automaticity. The brain literally rewires itself to lock in what works and ignore what doesn't.
So what are the parts of that loop?
It's a 4-step process. First, the cue. That's the trigger. You walk into a dark room.
Okay.
Then the craving. That's the motivation, the desire for a change in state.
And this is the key part, isn't it? You don't crave the habit, you crave the feeling it gives you.
Precisely. You don't crave a cigarette. You crave the feeling of relief from anxiety.
The response is the habit itself flipping the light switch.
And finally, the reward, which satisfies that craving and tells your brain, hey, remember this. This worked.
And if any one of those 4 things is missing, the habit just falls apart.
It does, which gives us our 4 simple laws for building good habits.
It's like a roadmap. For the cue, the first law is...
Make it obvious.
For the craving, the second law.
Make it effective.
The response.
Make it easy.
And the reward, you have to.
The geek is satisfying.
And you just invert all of those to break a bad habit. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
It's a really practical framework.
So let's look at some strategies. First law, make it obvious. A lot of the time we think we lack motivation.
Oh, what we really lack is clarity. We don't have a specific plan for when and where we're going to act.
This is where the implementation intention comes in.
Right. And there was a study where this was just wildly effective. 91% follow through on exercise plans.
And all you do is fill in a blank. I will do the behavior at this time in this location.
So instead of I should meditate, it becomes I will meditate for 1 minute at 7 a.m. in my kitchen. The cues are concrete.
And then you can use habit stacking. You piggyback a new habit onto one you already have.
Yeah, the formula is after I do my current habit, I will do my new habit.
So after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 60 seconds.
Exactly. You use the momentum of the old habit to trigger the new one.
Let's jump to the third law. Make it easy. We're all wired to follow the law of least effort.
We are. We conserve energy. So we just automatically drift towards whatever is most convenient.
Yeah.
The trick is to design your environment so the good habit is the easy path.
And this is where we have to fight that urge to go too big too fast.
Yes, the 2-minute rule. Whatever new habit you're starting, it has to take less than 2 minutes.
So run 3 miles becomes.
Put on my running shoes.
And write a novel becomes.
Open the document, write 1 sentence. The point isn't the action itself, it's mastering the habit of showing up.
You standardize before you optimize.
And you can lock in that easy choice through automation. One-time decisions that just make good behavior automatic in the future.
Like the cash register.
Tell that story.
So the guy who bought the patent, John Patterson, he bought it because it automatically locked the cash and receipts inside. It made it almost impossible for employees to steal. It automated ethical behavior.
It made the bad habit incredibly difficult. Victor Hugo did the same thing when he was writing The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Right, he had his servant lock away all of his clothes except for a shawl.
He literally couldn't leave the house. He made the bad habit of procrastination difficult and the good habit of writing easy.
Genius. Okay, that brings us to the final and maybe the hardest, law. Make it satisfying.
This is a tough one because our brains are ancient, but we live in a modern world.
What do you mean?
Our brains evolved for immediate returns. You see a berry, you eat it. You see a lion, you run. The reward or punishment is instant.
But today, we live in a delayed return environment.
Exactly. The cost of a good habit, like going to the gym, is immediate effort, sweat. But the reward, better health, is way off in the future.
And for bad habits, it's the opposite. The reward of eating a donut is immediate, and the cost is delayed.
And our ancient brain will always, always choose the immediate pleasure.
So the cardinal rule has to be, what is immediately rewarded is repeated, what is immediately punished is avoided.
We have to find a way to inject some immediate satisfaction into these good long-term habits.
There's that public health study in Pakistan on hand washing.
Yeah, a great example. They knew washing hands prevented disease, that's a delayed reward, but nobody was doing it.
And then they introduced a specific soap, Safeguard, that smelled nice and lathered really well.
And compliance shot up. Why? Because the soap itself provided an immediate, small sensory pleasure. It made the behavior satisfying right now.
So you need that little win, that little dopamine hit. If you're trying to save money, you need a visual tracker where you can check off a box each time you succeed.
You need that immediate proof that you're casting a vote for that new identity.
So once you have this system running, what's the biggest threat?
It's not failure, it's boredom.
Boredom, really?
Yeah, because mastery is just endless repetition. And once the results become expected, the excitement fades. Professionals stick with the schedule even when they're bored.
So you have to find that sweet spot.
The Goldilocks rule. You need to be working on tasks that are right on the edge of your abilities. Not too hard, not too easy. You always need to be chasing that next 1%.
And you have to be careful that you don't start optimizing for the wrong thing.
Goodhart's law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
So if you're only focused on hitting 10,000 steps, you might just walk around in circles to hit the number and forget that the real goal was, being healthy.
The system has to serve the identity, not the other way around.
So, to wrap this all up, spectacular results don't come from massive actions. They come from refining tiny systems, day after day.
Forget the goals, focus on the process, let every small action be a vote for the person you want to become.
And use the 4 laws to engineer that system. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
A perfectly engineered, self-improving system. And we'll leave you with a final thought. This one's from the philosopher Seneca.
Okay.
He said, "Being poor is not having too little, it is wanting more."
If your wants are always outpacing your achievements, you'll never feel satisfied.
You'll always be in a state of wanting. Real success, maybe real happiness, is found in that small daily alignment of your actions with your identity. That's the real reward.